when you graduated FAMU and you came to LA, right? So you brought all of this knowledge and everything to LA.
Yeah.
And was you ready to DJ? What was you doing? Did you get a job?
So,
what was
the whole way my story goes is funny. Like, to summarize it, I got back 08, and it was where, like, I was of course, some folks know me as a producer from like the game era, but overall, I thought, okay, I have some connections who promote stuff. I can get back to LA. I'm gonna be doing clubs and stuff. So I majored in computer science. When I got back, my primary thing was having a job in IT. DJing was more so secondary, supplemental, whatever. But getting back to LA, it took years to really get into the club scene, because LA, I didn't realize it's sold up. It's where everybody has the DJs they've been rocking with for years. So even my own age group, if they went to college in LA, they had DJs they've been rocking with since college, since freshman year. So when I get there, it's like, who is he? I don't have a following there. Hollywood is a whole different side, but with Hollywood, they've had DJs who are bringing the celebrity crowds and the models, this and that. Radios, like, everything was locked up, so I had to kind of find my own way. So it was where me having all this knowledge didn't really start serving me for a while, but what I did was that when I was at FAMU back in 05, I created a group called the HBCU California Connection, which was everybody who was from California who went to an HBCU. So everybody kind of linked up from there. By 08, 09, a lot of us that graduated were back in LA. I flipped it. I said, okay, everybody who's from an HBCU who lives in California, join this group. And then we started doing events. So I got with some folks who went to Hampton. By 09, we're doing these beach parties. By 2010, it's like, all right, we're doing these kind of lounge parties. By 2011, 12, it's like, all right, we have a whole crowd of people that went to HBCUs who live in LA, mainly in the Valley, but some of us from LA too. Now we're doing HBCU parties. By then, that's when I'm starting to do big events and big clubs, and it was all HBCU crowds. But that was my only like club stuff, along with some more loungy type events. But it took me a while to just kind of build that crowd up. And when I had that happen, that's when I started to take off, because it was where people realized, okay, he's playing stuff that only we know from the South, because everybody who moves here complains like LA DJs only play this and that.
Right.
And the thing is, we play way more than LA music, but it's just that we play more of the commercial surface level stuff, because if you weren't in the South, you would know it. But me taking this FAMU knowledge, I'm able to appeal to everybody. So I'm doing these sets just like FAMU does it. Like FAMU is known for, okay, we in Chicago, so we playing everything in Chicago. We in New York, 15 minutes New York. We in Louisiana, 10 minutes Louisiana. So everybody who's from there is getting hyped from that moment. So that's the way I was able to use that knowledge. And then the more and more I built up in LA, it's like that's what I'm known for now, is being able to take you wherever I go. And then with LA folks who might think I'm forgetting about them, I purposely shut everybody else out first. I play the down south, the East Coast. Then it's like, all right, if you're from LA, you're from Inglewood, Gardena, then I'm going deep cut LA. Then they're like, oh, okay, so it all ties together.
That's crazy. It's so funny because like, when I hear you DJ, I wouldn't think you're an LA DJ. You know what I'm saying?
That's what everybody always says.
Yeah, and that's why I really wanted to ask about, you know, the HBCU and FAMU, because, and that's how you really kind of built up that following as well, right? Like just like with that whole crew, because you have a tight knit following and they follow your style of DJing. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's very unique when I hear you, because it's very West Coast, but it's also very like aggressively South as well. So it's like I don't really hear many West Coast DJs spinning like that, where you sound like a DJ from the South, but you're doing it technically with the West Coast in a West Coast style. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Basically, because y'all are DJs, y'all catch that. Because the funny thing is, whenever I'm my weekly spot is the Dime on Fairfax, but whenever I'm doing stuff in LA, that's always the main comment. When people from New York come, people from Louisiana, Texas, Atlanta come and hear me, they always, where you from? You can't be from LA.
Yeah.
I am from LA. Really? Because you sound just like they do here and there. But it's like, as you said, somebody who's a DJ can tell, I still have a West Coast style technically when it comes to some of the wordplay, some of the speed transitions. And to me, LA and New York have some similar styles, more so than the South. I feel like when it comes to LA and New York, we are known for that kind of creativity when it's the looping certain stuff, when it comes to doing certain blends. Like, that's kind of an LA-ish, New York type deal. To me, New York, of course, is the home of just going fast and cutting through songs. So I will kind of take that style and use it with the South and West Coast songs, but it can't always work the same way, because you can't cut and no fun off in 10 seconds. You got to let that play. But it's like, but with that, it's where, this me starting off as a DJ in the South, that's where my whole hearing how they did it, it's like, okay, I'm taking that Southern, like, song selection style, you know, knowing these sets, knowing these types of songs, but doing it in a West Coast type of way. And that's the reason I can really go anywhere in the country and like I can adapt to whatever style that they're doing, just by inserting whatever new songs are in there or digging a little bit deep for their throwbacks.
I mean, what a blessing it is to have gone to school there, right? And then to have gone through that experience and shit, and then have it affect you as a DJ, and then also kind of have you stand out as a DJ as well. Like those years that you were at FAMU and just going through that shit. It's great to hear, man. Like, and you really do stand out, man. When I hear you, you know, it's like. But I always wondered. I'm like, how come I don't? Yeah, because you know, you're so good, but I don't hear. Like, I guess the thing that really like kind of confused me. I'm like, yo, this dude is really good. How come he's not in the clubs in LA? And how come I don't know about him? Do you know what I mean?
The thing,
I was
the thing
really
with LA
confused.
clubs.
Yeah.
I mean, LA clubs. I'm always doing a lot of club events. LA is very, very segmented. LA is very segmented.
Right.
I'll even say it's racially segmented as well too. It's where, just to be blunt about it, it's where there's clubs that can be all hip hop, but it's never gonna be a black DJ. If it is a black DJ, it's somebody who's connected, who has a certain plugs, they produce for certain people. They're at a certain level. So it's like a lot of clubs I do aren't in that Hollywood realm, but at the same time, it's like I personally don't like doing those clubs either, because the thing is, everything you said about my style, that doesn't really match Hollywood clubs.
Right, it doesn't.
Everything you say about me digging deep down south, going deep New York, throwback LA, whatever it is, throw that out the window. If I'm doing a club in Hollywood, I have to stay surface level. I have to be all the newest trap, the trendiest stuff. They rather you go new school that they don't know than old school that they know, because the old school is old to them. It's like, that's played out. They want you to always be fast forward, moving. And when I was doing stuff like Playhouse, I remember it kind of showed me where I wanted to be at, because like Playhouse was seen as the biggest spot 5 years ago. So I remember my first time being there. The promoters who got me in there were Supreme Team. The ones who were working with them in the group chat were telling them, we don't know who R-Tistic is. He's a non-factor, this and that. He gonna choke. He gonna mess up. And he was like, nah, R-Tistic is dope. So I remember doing it that night and really having to adjust my style and really being like almost too cautious, but like, let me make sure I'm playing the new trendy stuff. And to me, the crowd was not rocking because it's a bottle popping crowd, but they were like, hey, you killed it. And I'm like, I guess, because the videos they holding bottles up. But the next week I did Grits and Biscuits. Grits and Biscuits is like the biggest premiere party that started the whole wave of traveling parties, especially within the black hip hop scene the last 10 years. I did that a week later down the street at the Palladium. This is 3,000 people in a huge venue, and you feel the energy, you feel the love, you feel everything, and I'm going way deeper. And I realized Playhouse was not fun to me. I'm like, yeah, it looked great to have my marquee, my name is on the marquee on Hollywood Boulevard. People saw that. People are like, oh, you at Playhouse, you made it. But I'm like, that's not really fun to me. I don't like doing that. I'm not being myself. I'm being so surface level. I'm playing the stuff that's like, yeah, of course, Future has bangers, but it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, you have to play Mars Madness. You have to play Dreams and Nightmares. You have to play these certain songs to get the energy up there, versus Grits and Biscuits is where I'm going so deep, booty me down. I'm playing that.
Right.
That's getting way bigger reaction than anything Future made. So it was like, yeah.
So I'm wondering.
Yo, did you rock with Supreme Team? Did you rock with Supreme Team during like the 2014, 2013 era where like DJ Bad was like,
that's the homie, yeah.
Yeah, like they were running Supper Club and I was, were you in that circuit as well, or?
So I didn't get with them until 2016. So it was where Bad was the homie who's like, he's like, I can say, if not a mentor, something like a mentor. I'll say he's a little bit older and all that. And he, I was with the Sarah, funny enough. But but with that is where he was always trying to get me in there. But because of what I was saying earlier, my style and just my image didn't appeal to what Hollywood wanted. So it was like, it was always, who is R-Tistic? He don't do anything. And it's kind of like the lose-lose of, if you're not in the scene, you can't get to the scene. The same way if somebody's trying to get a job, if you don't have experience, you can't gain the experience to get the experience you need. So with that, it was where I couldn't get into that scene with them, but I was always going. So I studied the style. When I was going to Supper Club with Bad, I was going to Las Palmas Fridays, Roxbury Thursdays, Greystone Sundays. So I learned everything that they were doing. I learned the music that they were doing, their style, and everything else. So once I was ready for that spot at Playhouse 2016, I knew how to rock with them. But that was my first time getting with them. And I still rock with them to this day. I did something with Supreme Team a couple days ago. But it's like, even with that, I don't really like doing Hollywood stuff. And one thing about me, as Cricket says, like, people know, like, I don't know if I'll call myself pro-black at that level, but I'm still like, I'm definitely like, I am black and that's what I am. That's what I represent. I don't like the fact that Hollywood does not like black women. So a lot of these spots that I have done or I've been to even, when I realized that I can't get my own cousin in or my homegirls who are professional, corporate, make more than anybody else in the club, they can't get in because they're dark skinned. I don't even care about that scene in that way. So that's one reason that I purposely steered away from that lane, and it's been better off overall.
Yeah, in the beginning when you were trying to get into the clubs and radio and all of this stuff, when you moved back to LA from FAMU. I mean, was it a struggle to even just enter? Was it just like, was it discouraging? You know what I'm saying? Just kind of like trying to enter the scene and then just being like, fucking, let me just start my own shit. You know, obviously 5-6 years later, 10 years later, you're looking back at it now, it's a blessing. But back then you were just kind of like frustrated with the scene, kind of like, I'm never going to get into this shit, or like, what, can you explain that a little? Like maybe like how many obstacles or how many hurdles you had to jump to even just get your foot in the door, and just not even get your foot in the door. You know what I'm saying?
It was complicated. I mean, the thing is, as I was saying, I remember my last time being on FAMU campus as an undergrad in 2008. I remember telling the crowd, like, yeah, so I'll be back in LA this summer. I'm moving back. So if you come to LA for BET Awards, come holler at me. I'll be DJing something. That was me just trying to speak it into existence. I got to LA. I ain't done no BET stuff for 5-6 more years. That was just me thinking it would be that easy. And I realized, all right, it's going to be a little while. And it was like, the funny thing is, the first club stuff I was doing was the older crowd, because I ended up linking up with them. And they appreciated my style because I was always kind of an old head when it came to the music. So I was doing the 35 and up stuff when I was 24, 25. And it was like, it was a cool scene at the time, and my friends would come to it. They enjoyed it enough. But after a while, it's like, all right, I'm trying to get, more stuff that's my age group. It doesn't have to be Hollywood. But it was definitely a frustrating era in a sense, because it was like, it was where it felt like I was doing cool, decent stuff, but it just wasn't at that level. I was doing, of course, house parties, backyard parties, and those were always fun, but it just wasn't at that type of level. And then surprisingly, the most frustrating years weren't 08, 09, because those were just, I was happy to be doing whatever I was doing. I'm happy to be in this at this little bar. I'm happy to be at this house party. It got frustrating 5-6 years later, 2014, 15, and 16, when it was like I'm realizing, okay, I've been doing this for 5, 6, 7 years, and I'm still like, I'm doing decent, cool stuff, but it's just not really like getting to that level. Because I mean, the thing is, like, as far as, LA has so many lanes. I didn't do a lot of club stuff, but as far as big stuff, I did Paid Dues 2013. I did Rock the Bell 2011 as a stage DJ. I won the Flavor Battle 2014. So I had a lot of stuff that looked big in a certain way, but to show how much that didn't matter to some people, I remember talking to a publicist back in 2014, and she was like, but you don't do any club stuff. Like, the clubs you mentioned, you do all these little small hole-in-the-wall clubs. She said that without saying it. And she was like, if you want to be in the Hollywood club, sing Holler at Mark the Spot, he'll probably have you open for free. And I'm like, first of all, Mark the Spot is a homie. Second of all, I ain't doing nothing free. I don't care. I don't need that scene. I'm good enough where I'm at. But it got frustrating in that era, because I remember 2015, like, it was one of those movie scenes. The club I was doing was called Cosmo. So it was right next to a club called Project LA on Hollywood Boulevard. I remember parking. I walk up. It's Friday night. I walk up, and the line, it's long as hell. I'm like, all right, it's going to be popping. I walk, and I'm like, oh, wait, that's for Project. I'm at Cosmo. I get the Cosmo. It's empty. And I'm realizing that this whole night, everybody texts me, hey, the line is long. Oh, wait, never mind, it's not. And they come inside, and it's like Cosmo is trash that night. Project next door is popping. And it's one of those things where I realized, like, the clash and just the difference of where I'm at versus where somebody else is at next door. And then when I go to Project on the off night, I'm like, the DJ here is whack. But it's like, they're in that scene. That's all that matters. So it's like, those years are kind of frustrating.
If you want to check the full episode of this clip, click the video on the left. Or if you'd like to continue watching more road clips, click the video on the right. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page and get updated on new clips and videos from R.O.A.D Podcast throughout the week. Peace.